some of this video got corrupted on this Mercedes. So where I'm doing the measurements of where you do for the shims on the Planet, it's not in there. So I included how you do it so that you can do that, but I had no video of it. Another thing that came up, this one bit me in the ass, and I'm going to include this in there, and then I'm going to include at the end of it, you'll see how it's done right. There is a right way and a wrong way to do this governor, not just matching up the ports. I knew as soon as I started doing this, I'd get a phone call. Okay, where was I? Okay, so there's a right way and a wrong way to do this governor. The right way is for both of these ports to be facing the rear. This one you can't screw up. Well, you could, but let's show you what we got going on here. Go ahead and loosen this one up. Okay, so you got the screen that goes in there, you got your two feed ports. There's really no way to screw this up as far as lining that up. It's the other one where the problem lies. This one has feed ports on each side, so you could put it this way, you can put it this way, the feed ports are still lined up, but this port's facing the wrong direction, and that's where the problem lies. This has to face rearward. So don't let that screw you up. And the other thing, parking mechanism, wasn't able to get that on video pretty much when I was installing it or putting it together. I do have pretty much all the pictures of that. It's pretty self-explanatory when you get in there. Make sure I get this tight before I hope that got on video. So here we got the parking mechanism. The governor's going to sit on top. The centrifugal deal for the rear pump is going to sit on there. There's two different styles of this speedometer gear. There's one that's got a wide end out here also, just like this. This style, the long end faces back, and the washer that goes on here is cone shaped. You want the dish facing in, and it goes all on just like that. If it had the other style, it doesn't take this washer. Okay, hopefully that gets everything squared away. Hopefully that got all on video. Okay, we're going to start building this 722.11a, and my advice to you is I'm building this for another shop, and they didn't want to do what I told them to do. They bought the kit from WIT, and they got a Bryco kit. It is horrible, freaking horrible. What parts are in the kit don't fit properly. Most of the parts aren't in there. Never fails. Get to going on a video and get interrupted. Did not have the inner speedometer seal. Did not have the outer one. I had to hunt that up. I wasn't sure how the seal was going to fit in the case. It fit a little tight, but it fit okay. This side's going to face out towards you. I don't know if you're not going to be able to see it when we go to the case. I've already put most everything in the case because I wasn't sure. I had to hunt a lot of stuff up. The lip seals on the drums seem to be okay. The O-rings on the servos didn't fit very well. Let's see what else was. It didn't come with any of the washers for any of the seals, you know, like the bolts where it seals up on the bolts, or the Kickdown. This one here didn't come with. I hunted up the ones that were the same as the older Mercedes 722.3. Some of those were the same. This one I could not find. I just flat filed it with the aluminum file. None of these O-rings on the Kickdown fit properly. What else? That's a horrible kit. Do not buy a Braco kit. It is freaking horrible. They gave me Allomatic clutches. You know, if you've been watching my channel, you know I don't soak my clutches. This is one of the exceptions. When you get crappy clutches like Allomatics, I'll soak those because they can't take anything. If I piss people off, I don't care. It's just the way it is. Especially if I piss people off at Allomatic and Braco. I've dealt with Braco before. I don't like their stuff. Just flat don't like it. This kit is the worst I've ever had of any of their stuff, and their stuff. Man, I'm not happy right now. So we're gonna do what we can do. I've hunted up most everything, I think. The lip's gonna face towards you on this. Lip's gonna go down on this one. I asked them to get the stuff from Jaggies. They got some of the stuff. They got the bands. They got the planets. That's another thing we're going to talk about here in a second. If Jaggies is just excellent company. He's very knowledgeable. I got all of his stuff immediately. I had no problems with any of it. All of it was correct. His stuff come in before everything else. And if I would have had the kit from him, I wouldn't be spending half my day trying to hunt up stuff that works. If I had my way, I would tell these people what they can do with this unit. But if you don't want to buy what I want, don't bring the stuff here. I don't want to deal with this. I am very pissed right now, so it's going to come out in this video. It's just I cannot contain myself right now. Trying to save a buck, and it's just going to bite you. It's going to bite you every time. Alright, this lip's really fighting me here. May have to do the trick here where we put the hose clamp on the lip seal and put it in the freezer. From the teardown video to now, when I went back over the unit, I did find another problem, and we'll talk about that in a minute. we go. We got to line our teeth up with the teeth on here so that we can put that down in there. On this drum here, we got our teeth, we got our deal for springs to fit down on top of. These are going to slide down on top of there. This is going to face down. And you have to line it up. You see how there's deep teeth and shallow teeth. You'll see inside your drum here that it's going to only go in one way, just like so. And then when you get that in there, we got our ply plate goes behind that. Same way with it, you got to line that up. And then our wavy snap ring. Alright. Then we got our clutch. We got a steel with a step on it. A clutch, thick steel. Clutch and a thin steel. And our return springs are going to go in there, but I'm going to check our clearance right now. So we measure from here to here. Okay, and we're going to measure, let me write that down. Okay. Getting interrupted again. Alright, so we measure from the step right here to the top. Okay. And we measure step here. We subtract those from each other. And then we measure here from the top of the steel to the top here. We subtract those two, and that's going to give us our clearance. And then when we get our clearance correct, we can go ahead and put our piston in. And it takes 18 return springs. I did not have all of them in there. I'm going to have to go hunt some up. And then we want our piston to be on the little tips that were on there. And then we're going to press this in and put our snap ring in. I'm just going to leave this like this for right now, because you're not going to be able to see that anyway. I got to go over to the foot press. Go ahead and put this drum together. Lip's going to face down. Now usually there's at least 2 springs missing, so I just mark where they were missing from and I put them right back the way it was. And I have to use this lip wizard here. Alright, yeah. There we go. Okay. Missing one there and there. So I'll start this off around that so I know not to go there. We're going to do the same type of measurements on this drum like we did the other one. Get our clearance to come out right. And then we'll be done with our drums. So I'm going to go press this into, or put this on a foot press and press these in, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to have to hunt up 6 more springs because they left some out. Our Sprag assembly turns counterclockwise, locks clockwise. Up inside of here is this cage bearing, but it's going to fall out. So I'm going to leave it out for the momentary. Our clutches have to line into that. Our Sprag has to line up into there. And then I got to press all this down, and our snap ring goes on top. Alright, we have a shim that goes on the back here. And then it goes in those 3 tabs right there. Sits on top. We have a single tab. Go look inside of here, right down in there, the single hole. And depending on what shims you need to make your measurements. And shim goes there. Our sun gear goes on top. Our bearing goes on top of that. Our 3-tab washer goes on here. Our bearing goes on here. Cage bearing goes on here. This Planet sits on that. We got a flat bearing that goes in the bottom. We have this split cage bearing. Goes on here. We have our sun gear, our shim. Goes on there. The washer. And we have our bearing. I gotta go press this in. Okay, one thing I did forget to mention, there's 4 tips that are on here. Make sure that they're lined up on the springs. And then we got a thick steel. Clutch. Keep all of our teeth together. Thick steel. Clutch. Thick steel. Clutch. And then our pressure plate and our wavy snap ring. Alright. On our Planetary here, this is the other problem that I found. The splines are stripped out right here. So came with the whole gear train anyway. There's a shim, a washer, and this goes actually this way. And there's a washer, then a shim, and our sun gear. We got that here. I'm gonna have to get some pictures of all this. So let me get all that. We do have this collar here. Change your sealing rings on here. There's a brass washer on each side. It's going to fit together like so. And that's going to go together like that. So let me get some pictures of all this. I forgot. And then we'll assemble this. Okay, we got our ring gear, we got our washer, we got a cage bearing, goes on here. We have our drum assembly with our Sprag assembly in it, and a cage bearing up inside the Sprag assembly. And we have our, I guess you would call a center support. That goes on there. Let's scoot this over here out the way. We have actually, no, I guess we can leave that together. No, actually we should take this off. Go ahead and put our sun gear in here. We got our cage bearing in here. It's going to fall out. We have our ring gear, our Planet with our washer and our shim, our washer and shim on this side. Alright, that's down. We have this Planet. Fit in there. Put our snap ring in. Go. And see if we can get from dropping this off of there. Put this whole assembly. Making sure we got that in there. Alright. Snap ring with the short end of the taper up. have this cone washer. The tab has to fit in that hole. Our input shaft with our sealing ring on it. We have this piece with our washer. And 4 Phillips screws that go on here. Alright, I'll torque those down. We have all of our shims that go in here. We're going to have to measure our end play, make sure those are the ones that we need, but that's what was in there. We have cage bearing and flat bearing. And then our output planet. Alright, that's our whole assembly. And we're going to do the pump before we get the case up here. And then we'll be putting this in the case more than likely. Okay, you need to put a little dab of Loctite on the very tips of these Phillips. Don't get radical with the stuff. I would do something like blue. You don't want to get it too tight. We're going to measure the pocket here from the bottom to the top. Then we're going to measure from this bar to the top of this ridge right here. Don't forget to subtract your thickness of your bar. Subtract those two, and that's going to give you your clearance. It's supposed to be, I believe it was 16 to 20 thousandths, or 0.4 to 0.5 millimeters. Okay, we got our pump plate, and line this up. It's got a spline onto the splines there. Lube up our surface here. We have our pump gears. Bevel side of the outer gear goes towards the front. Inner gear does not matter which direction it goes. I'm going to lube up our O-ring. Go ahead and lube up our gears. And the 13 millimeters that hold it in there. Put a guide pin in here. And I'm going to hold this to the side so that my plate doesn't fall out, my gears don't fall out. Alright, now start. Yeah, my hands are kind of slippery. Alright, 20 Newton meters on the pump bolts. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this extension. Alright, pick the gasket that fits what you got the best, and then this is going to go between the case and the bell housing, and I'm going to use gasket sealer on this. And that's probably it for now. We'll come back and start stuffing this in the case. Okay, and this thing right here, the spring down inside of here, there's no O-ring here. Here's a seal on here. The lip's going to face forward, and then the roll pin has to go through that hole and go through that hole right there. So make sure that you got this lined up really well before you go trying to shove that through there and screw that thing up. So this will be all together. It screws into the case right there at the servo. Alright, and this piece back here, there's an O-ring that goes on there. There's this relief valve. It acts as a spring seat for that thing. Small end goes back here. Large end goes up here around that tip. And it's crimped on there. There's really no need to take this apart unless that spring is bad. And I don't know how easily this is going to go back together. It came apart pretty tough. And I think I'm going to do this off of camera because I don't know how long it's going to take. Alright, using thread sealer here and here. Washers on these two pressure ports. And our pump piston. We've got an O-ring. Lube that up really well. See how there's two holes and a slot. The earlier ones had two holes here, a single hole here. The two holes face the front, or the slot faces the front. And then this bolt, the little tip, has to sit right inside there. So all we're going to do at this point is put the piston in without the spring and the plug. Make sure we got this lined up. Here we go. It's just a tad bit off. Push our piston back down so we can get our tail housing on. Okay, up in this hole right here is a spring, and this spacer, the spring goes on the side that has the long little tips. I don't know what you would call them. That goes down inside of there. It does not come out easily, so be careful trying to get this thing out of there. I don't know that there's any need to take it out. See if I can get this in there without screwing it up. The last thing I want to do is break something. I don't know how easily that part would be to get. Well, it's damn sure not wanting to go in there. Okay, I'm going to work on getting it in there. But it's got this little tipped deal and this 343 thousandth steel ball that goes on top of it, and this goes in. Then right here in this spot there's a freeze plug down inside there. It does not want to come out, so I'm not going to try to get it out. I'm going to put some pipe thread sealer on here, and then that goes there, and the flat blade just tightens it down. Okay, up here in this tail housing, part of the tail housing, we got this valve. You need to turn it in such a way that this little keeper, you got the spring that goes in here, this little keeper is going to fit, that notch is going to fit in that little tab right there, and that slotted part is going to sit up against right here. The spring is going to sit on that little tip. Just like that right there. Okay, you're going to put your band anchors in. Mine had the thick coil to the rear. And then you got your clip that holds that in. It's got to go on that groove right there. It's going to fit into the case like so, and then this one is going to fit in the groove also. And make sure we're up in the groove. And there's a hole for the clip to go into. Make sure it gets up in that hole. And that's going to be a lot easier said than done. Alright, we'll only fit in there one direction. I think it's easier to get it in the holes of the anchors and then pull your clip up over that. You got our plastic piece, fits in the back of the case here. Our output shaft needs to go in. Here we go. Our plastic piece needs to go in. Our rear band needs to go. Make sure I do have the rear band. Needs to go in that groove back there. Alright, we got to sit our gear train with the center band on there, and we got to line our piece up that goes in here. Our band's going to have to line up on here. Gear train's going to have to spline in to both planet and the rear flange here. And we've got our flat bearing and our cage bearing on the back of our gear assembly. And I'm gonna have to lower this all in there. You're not gonna be able to see it because of the way it's gonna have to sit, and I gotta get another person to help me. So it'll go easier that way. And once I get that done, I'll be back and we'll put our front band in after. Alright, so our front band is in now. We have our lever. The long end is going to face down, short end is going to face in. The short end of the groove is going to face inside. Kind of hard to do this facing away from me where I can't see properly. There we go. There's my groove. Went a little too far. Our little clip's gonna go in. There we go. Our pin goes in between the band and the lever. And we have our adjustment and our other anchor pin. Alright, be very careful when you're putting your bell housing on that you don't screw this sealing ring up. It likes to get caught in such a way that you can probably break it really easy trying to put your bell housing on. I'm going to put the gasket on with some grease for the momentary. I'll have to clean all that off to get my gasket sealer to seal properly. But I don't want to, it's going to be a one-shot deal. I don't want to screw up my gasket and have to buy a whole nother kit just to get the gasket. So I want to make sure my end play does come out proper before I go making things permanent. Alright, there's 17 millimeters, 2 of those, and then 13 millimeters that hold this in. The 17 millimeters are 2" 242. The 13s are 1" 980. And I'm just going to put 4 for the momentary to hold this together until I make sure my end play is proper. Inside of here we have our pins. They pop into place. Okay, now let me go get my tool to we're in a bind, so I gotta straighten that up. And then apparently I don't think I dropped all the way in down here, so I'll get that straightened out. Let me get my tools from my servo and we'll be back. Okay, here we got our governor, and this side here goes to the shift valve. Shift valve goes in, spring goes on, and the E-clip goes on top of that. And I probably should get a pair of pliers for this. There we go. Make sure we're working well. We have our 2 feed ports. Got to line up here. Filter goes in this hole right here. 2 10mm bolts. We'll tighten that down in a minute. Okay, we have our pin, the weight, spring fits around. This valve fits up into here. This valve sits on top of that. We got our compensating washers. This one has 2. Spring, and in our retainer we got to slide it into this hole and then pop it up to where it belongs. There we go. Make sure that we're operating the way that we should be. Alright, we got another filter that goes in here. Make sure our feed ports are lined up. And we have 2 10mm that go on this side. And then of course our sealing rings that go on here. And let's see what these are hook and loop. So they just go together like so. Alright. Alright, we got this housing. There's a valve up inside of here. There's a spring, a valve, and plug, and a keeper. The modulator valve goes in right here. I'm going to put some grease on it to help hold it in place. You can put it in afterwards. Put your gasket on. Got 2 10mm and a 5mm Allen. Probably gonna have to move our hold down bracket, put that on afterwards. Spring goes on the front. So that it's pushing it back. Our stop has to be there. Keep it from coming back too far. sure that we are holding park. Our tail housing is going to hold our park mechanism down, so we don't have to worry about that. Alright, I believe we're ready for the tail housing. .13mm hold the tail housing down. They are 1" 607. There's a couple different accumulators that go back here. This one here goes with the spring, then the accumulator. There is another one that goes with the accumulator in, the spring sitting on top, and another piece that goes on top of that. You have to compress this down and into the tail housing as you're going in, so make sure that you go evenly. Alright, once we get that on, we'll be back. I'm going to put gasket sealer around there. Alright, when the parts show up, there's a new sealing ring going to go in here. So, spring, this valve, this little top goes on there with the tip up. The tip was up. Let's see if the spring fits on this side. No, I was pretty sure this tip was up. Alright, spring sits on top, cover goes on there, this sits up in the top of here, and this clip has got to go on here and clip onto the cap. Now normally I don't take all this apart. I just did this so I could put all the components on the Patreon side. This is going to be fun to get back in there, I can tell. It was fun just getting it apart. Might ought to take this tip off of here. It does unscrew, but I don't want to take the chance on breaking anything on here that can help. Need like 4 hands. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. There we go. Looks like we're all the way up into there. Okay. New O-ring's gonna go on the cap. Plastic goes in here. Spring sits on there. Servo sits on there. And the B1 servo O-ring lip seal is going to face out that way. Got outer and inner spring. B3 servo, got an O-ring. We have our ply piston with the spring. The way I got this apart, and there's no need to take this apart, so I used a pair of vice grips on here to hold this compressed. And then I got a pair of snap ring pliers, started and started pulling it up, and then just worked it out. It is a lot of fun to get out of there. And like I said, there's no need to take it apart unless your spring's broke. Let's see if we can get this back on there without it popping off of here and hurting my fingers. Alright, looks like it's on there. That sure went on a hell of a lot easier and it came off. So the lip's back, springs facing that way. This is the lever for the B3 servo, and when the pin goes in the case, there's a clip that holds that in. This is our ply pin, our adjustment, and our nut to keep our adjustment where it needs to be. And then the B2 return has a stiffer spring than the B1. So the light spring goes in the center, heavy spring goes in the back, and then this is what holds that in the case when you get it in there. Okay, let's go on to the next part. Alright, while we're waiting on gasket sealer, this has got a sealing ring in there. You can use a piston ring, compress that and put it in if you want to. I'm not going to take it back out because I got it in there. This one you can put in by hand. It's got the plastic ring, spring sits on top, small and in. Go ahead and lube that up really well. Like I say, you can push this one in by hand. Yep, cut my O-ring that time. I already had it in there once. I should have just left it alone. But I wanted to show you. Like I said, these O-rings do not fit worth a crap. Let's see if we can get this to go in this time without cocking around on me too much. There we go. This one here, I'm not going to take it back out. I used a woodworking C-clamp with a socket on here and just compress that in, put your snap ring in. This other side I think we can put in by hand also. I got to pull this out and put my spring back in. This other side has a wide end in, small end forward. so far. Maybe leave a snap ring over there. Pull this one back out. Forgot my spring. Hopefully I don't cut the damn O-ring this time like I did last time. This is my last O-ring. Okay. My gasket sealer hardened up on me. I'll buy some new.
Which one?
That Permatex. Like a big rubber ball. Alright, for our servo here, we have this piece. I think I've already talked about it. The seal that's on the inside here, cup faces forward. It looks similar to that, but a whole lot smaller. And it goes on there. There's a roll pin that holds it all in. O-ring goes on here, lube your O-ring up. Didn't have the washer in the kit, so I had to flat file it. And you just get your aluminum file, flat file it. You'll know when it's flat enough. You'll be able to see it. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you do it. .7/8 on that. Let's see what else we can do. I guess we can go ahead and put our neutral switch on. Eight millimeters on the neutral switch. Let's see where park, reverse, neutral. These little tabs have to fit in the slots on that, and these little slots have to fit right on here. And I think we may be off just a tad. Let's go ahead and get this lined up on here. Then we can make sure that we're lined up on here. Well, really tight. There we go. There's my bolt. I'll go ahead and put this on there. Tighten this down. 10 millimeter on that. There's a washer. We're going to need a chrome. All right. All right. And this is 156 thousandths drill bit. Let's see, what else can we do till that shows up? We could adjust our band, I guess. I'm supposed to put thread sealer on this, so let me pull this back out. Put a tad bit of thread sealer on here. Tighten this all the way down. And I think it's 3/4 of a turn. Loosen 1 3/4 of a turn. So 1 3/4. Put our nut on.
I was about to push the diesel. I saw the tail housing coming, but it doesn't have the one for the.
What the hell is wrong with this woman?
on here. Oh, I got it here.
Wait, sir.
I reach. Let's load your metal sheets because I want to throw.
Alright, got the housing on, flange is on. Put some red Loctite on your nut. 86.5 foot-pounds on the nut. See if we can hold this still. There we go. We're also going to stake that in place. I can find something small enough to get in there. Alright, I don't know what's up with the batteries today. They've been showing that they have half a charge and they're still going dead. Alright, so our modulator, there's a couple different styles. This has the little stop on it here with the spring. It goes over the pin. The pin is glued into the modulator. There's a tool that you screw in here and it measures how long a pin that you need. There's 3 different pins. I looked up, tried to find the tool, and I punched the number in. It does not come up anymore, but neither do the pins. So I'm sure that you can still get the pins from Mercedes probably, but none of it came up when I tried to find it. There's an O-ring on the outside of this cap here. My kit did not come with the O-ring that would fit it. Just like most of this kit, I'm telling you, don't buy a Brico. 7/8 on the modulator. Some modulators have another spring that goes in there. They say there's 2 different ones. They look identical. The difference is where that pin goes in there. And if you update it, you're supposed to not use that other spring. So obviously this one's been updated. And a diesel one is different also. Alright, we got our spring. Lube up our O-ring. I could not find a torque spec for this. I don't think it needs to be radical. And I got this from Matco. There's a number on this. It's a 7/8 chisel LC288A. And just ground the tip down so that it fit down in here, and it works really well if you keep it in the groove. Been chiseled on. That's how some people take it out. See if I can keep this pushed up in there. Alright, I think that's plenty tight. Our speedometer did have the O-ring for it. Lube it up. 10mm with a washer on it. Did not have the inner seal. the front down here. It's our kickdown switch. There's 3 O-rings on here. Go ahead and lube them up. There's a washer that goes on here. There's a little slot right here. This needs to fit into. Go ahead and shove your bolt all the way up through. Get the O-ring started on it. That kind of helps center up the washer. .15/16 on that. Alright, let me see how my clearance came out. Oh, that came out perfect. Alright. Get a good view down in here. I think we already talked about the front band is 1 3/4 or 1 3/4 turn. The pins that go on here are different lengths to get your travel to come out correctly. They want you to check it freestanding like it is right now, and to apply it and check the travel distance between there. On this one, you're checking between here and here. And you're allowed 3 to 4 millimeters, and I'm fine, so we're good there. Let's make sure we got our plastic. Now we got this, it's got to go in. There's rubber seals on each end. Go ahead and change those, lube them up. There's a little slot this has got to slide into. Here's your air check ports. This is apply, release, and apply. Okay. Now that this has to oh, maybe I'm upside down. That's what my problem is. Lined up on that correctly. Not wanting to line up. I know it's got to go that way. solder damage. There we go. Front band wasn't forward far enough. Alright. Now, we got to, since our gasket kit showed up, we got to put our gasket on here. I almost forgot all about it till I saw it in there. That's what happens when you gotta wait so long in between everything. You do certain steps and then you forget where you were. Alright, our linkage has to line up right there in that little slot on our valve. I guess I got to turn it the right direction. Get down on our pipes. There we go. 13 millimeters on that. That holds the valve body in. And it looks like I'm short a bolt. Need to figure out what happened to it. We are sitting all the way flat. Alright, gotta find that. Let's tighten this down. Alright, 112 inch-pounds. Went a little too far. Not paying attention to what I was doing. Looking over at the computer. Double check all this. Okay. We got a gasket we need to put on here. .69 inch-pounds on the valve body bolts, and we're going to start in the center. Alright, I got to find my other 13. And we got our filter. There's 3 different filters. There's a no pickup tube, a 3/4 inch pickup tube, and then a 1 inch pickup tube. So make sure that you get the right filter for your application. Okay, on the front, bottom 7 bell housing bolts from the inside, you're supposed to put sealer on the threads. So do that. Put my pan on. These are the bolts that hold the pan on. I gotta find that bolt, and then this unit is done. We'll catch you on the next one. 218 ball here, 218 ball here. God dang it. This is cone shaped. The small end goes up on here. Let's see if we can get a good shot of that. That's what that one looks like. Sits right there. Oh, I tell you what. Bouncy. Really bouncy. This is cone shaped, small end up. This one's cone shaped, small end up. Goes right there. And then our gasket goes on this way. Bouncy little bastard. I gotta wait for my gasket set to show up to change out the gasket. And then I got to find out which one of these is upside down so I can fix that. So once I do that, I'll get this squared away. Alright, the springs are facing the side with the keeper, so it goes the other way around. The springs are going to go in first, then the valve. The spring and the valve. Alright, I'll be back on the next section. Alright, I got a spring with the filter. Does not matter which direction this filter goes. Just need to make sure that you don't get it pinched between the separator plate and the housing. A spring, 2/18 thousandths ball, and these rubber balls are $2.75. One goes right there. One goes right there. And our separator plate goes on top. Alright, we'll get the next section. Alright, everything looks like it's working okay. Okay. I think we already did the other side, so we need this side. We got 5 218 thousandths balls. This one here takes this little spacer, goes down in first, goes between those two balls, so make sure when you're putting this in there that this other ball is in there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Made a hell of a mess. Hell of a mess. Okay. Now, and find out which direction these face. I believe that these face this way. Let me double check all this. This one's just a pin. You got to have your separator plate on it or it's just going to fall through. Alright, we got 5 check balls 1 218 thousandths, 2 3 4 5, and I'm gonna have to see what I can do about this plate. Might try a Tech Pack fits all deal if it'll fit inside that hole right there. Yeah, let me take this off. It just sits on the top. Make sure I'm going the right direction, which I'm not. And there we go. And then let's flip this around. Got our primary pump check valve goes here. 2 check balls on this side. Here's this plastic spacer that goes between this ball and that ball on the other side. Then we have this plunger that goes here, and then let's see, make sure we get this right. We got this valve, almost lost that spring, and this spring. Then we have this valve, and this spring. The springs are the same, the valves are different. Alright, then our other plate goes on top. I gotta change my gasket out. I have this spring and check valve. The small end goes up, 218, 218. Small end goes up. That check valve, small end goes up on this one, and we got that check valve. Separator plate goes on this way. Trying to keep from flipping all this stuff off of there. And get this on camera. Don't want to break any of this stuff. I can probably get it at some point, but I don't have that kind of time to wait on this stuff. Then make sure we got this going the right direction. We only want to do this once. This is going this way. And there we go. Falling apart. Probably gonna have to put some grease in there. Hold that check ball in place. But I'm gonna have to take this apart anyway to put the gasket on here. So I just want to get this on there so I don't lose all my stuff while I'm waiting for my kit to show up. 10 millimeters hold this all together. They're all the same size except for these two up here that go on this plate. Here's a gasket on here also. These two hold that down, and a flat blade on there. And I'm just going to leave all the rest of this off, because I just got to take it back apart. Alright, here's our ink stamp. 123-270-6287. It tells us what valve body we got. Hopefully I got a schematic coming to make damn sure that all this is right, because one of these valves is opposite of all the information that I've found so far. But just because it is does not mean it's correct. So hopefully Jaggies can get me the blow up of this particular valve body. And then our manual valve is going to go in right here. Alright, we'll be back when we get the kit and rebuild the unit.